PlayStation is officially going multi-platform. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions. It's definitely a pivotal moment in gaming history right now, and I thought we should talk about it. Now, when this news broke, I was actually sick and I had just came back from traveling, so I did not talk about it in Playbite, so we're going to talk about it here. A job posting came out that said PlayStation was hiring, basically looking for somebody that would have multi-platform experience to port games. We now know that Helldivers 2 is launching on Xbox later this month, and now gaming has came full circle and PlayStation doesn't really care about exclusives anymore. As a matter of fact, PlayStation's push for live service is probably what gave the initiative to have multi-platform games. Helldivers 2 is going to sell crazy on Xbox because they are good game deprived, so Helldivers 2 being there is going to be a very big deal. But then what comes interesting is the games that actually matter, the games that actually built PlayStation, the ones that you think of when you think about PlayStation. What are those games going to be that are going to come to Xbox first? At this point in time, it's anybody's guess, but I do have a very sneaky suspicion that it's going to be Horizon Zero Dawn. Now let's look at the stats of Zero Dawn. It came out the same day as The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It was overshadowed. It didn't do so hot when it came out, so Sony had to lower the price down to $20, and then ultimately over the next several years thereafter, it would become a quintessential PlayStation game. It would come out to get a VR game, Horizon Forbidden West as a sequel, and now there's a live service game in the pipeline. So what better way to draw Xbox players into the live service than giving them Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Zero Dawn? I don't think those games would come out at the same time. I think it'd be like a good year and a half between the two. But if they can get those onto Xbox and then get them invested into the MMO, very smart, very good idea. But now, like, the whole business standpoint of this aside, let's talk about how it's actually kind of weird to see PlayStation going multi-platform. PlayStation has had this giant emphasis on exclusives for longer than I've been alive. I was born in '97, the PlayStation was born several years before, and exclusive games kind of what, pushed the console out. But these days, people are no longer going to be drawn to a console because of exclusives. They're going to be drawn to a console because maybe that's where their friends are, that's where all their trophies are, that's where their save games are. It's a lot different these days. So PlayStation has already won. There's no, new customer for them to grab. And then the younger generation, they don't care about video games, period. They just care about Valorant or Fortnite or something like that. So you're not going to see somebody born in like 2015, in 2035 asking for a PlayStation. You're not going to see that. Or even today, they're 10 years old, they're not asking for a PlayStation, and if they are, it's just because their parents won't buy them a PC for Fortnite. So I do understand that, console players are kind of a dying breed in a way, but it's just so bizarre. The first time I can really remember this ever happening was like 20 some odd years ago when Metal Gear Solid 2 came to Xbox. That kind of threw me off. Like, I had no, it just was just so weird. Like, I remember seeing that and I was just thinking, oh my god, why? Because up to that point, it had always been a PlayStation franchise, and I always associated with that, even to this day. So now seeing actual first-party PlayStation games going to Xbox is going to be really strange. I definitely think this is the right move for PlayStation to make. I think if they held off longer to putting their games multi-platform, I don't think it would necessarily have helped them, because here's the thing, the next Xbox is coming out next year. You could argue that it's even months away because we don't know when it's coming out in 2026, but we know it's coming in 2026. And that thing is supposedly going to run a modified version of Windows, which means you're going to be able to play your Steam games on the Xbox console itself. So what does that mean? Horizon Forbidden West, Days Gone, God of War, all this stuff's coming to Xbox anyways, so they about as well push it out there officially so that people are more willing to buy it on Xbox instead of going through all the setup to get the Steam on the Xbox console itself next year, so that then they could drive more sales that way. Because if you already have it on Steam, that's not a sale they're going to make if you're playing it on Xbox. But if they have a separate Xbox app for it, you're going to be more likely to buy that. That's just how it is. But what I think is more exciting about this, forget the Xbox part, that stuff's irrelevant. But this is going to add more value to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, we've been asking for a PSP 2 forever and a day. Sony's dragged their feet and not done it. The Nintendo Switch has overtaken the handheld market to the point that it has a monopoly. Even handheld PCs can't compete. And PlayStation has already released a handful of their first-party games on there, such as the Lego Horizon Zero Dawn. So if we can start getting games like God of War Classic to the Switch, Jak and Daxter to the Switch, Sly Cooper, Killzone, and all these other legendary games that we've been waiting forever and a day to get remastered, it obviously makes it way easier on the Switch. Pop it on a little PlayStation 2 emulator, put it on a cartridge, and send them off to the pasture. Honest to God, I would pay $60 for a Jak and Daxter collection on the Switch. And that's going to add so much value to the Switch 2. I keep looking over there because that's where my Switch 2 is plugged up. But it's going to add so much value to it and give so much more longevity. And those games are going to sell even crazier to the point that, let's say, Jak and Daxter collection comes to the Nintendo Switch. honest to God, it would sell at least 1 to 2 million copies, and then maybe that would be enough to justify a Jak 4 or a full-on remake. Even more recently, we've been seeing PlayStation license out their IP, such as Freedom Wars, going all the way to Bandai, and then that's going, putting it on PC, putting it on Switch. So they're already doing this, so we could see Jak get breathed into a new life by having that game, licensed out to somebody else. And honestly, at this point, I think a lot of these classic franchises from PlayStation would be better off to be licensed and maybe handled by first-party PlayStation themselves. I mean, could you imagine a collectathon Sly Cooper and the style of something like a Zelda Breath of the Wild, for example? Of course, they'd have to tweak it and make it more Sly Cooperish, but if that team was to handle that, insane. And Nintendo has so much money that if they were to partner with PlayStation to make the new versions of XYZ game, they could do it and it would actually sell phenomenal. They never took a break from platformers. It's been their thing since day one. So they're gonna have people who are way more experienced and way more ready to go than it is right now with PlayStation. So in conclusion, I think PlayStation going multi-platform is gonna be better for everybody. It's gonna expand their revenue, it's going to, prolong the life of the PlayStation, and it's gonna make these games have more homes, which means more players, which means more revenue, of course, which means more stockholder being like, yes, I enjoy this, which is ultimately going to lead to more games for franchises that were thought dead and gone once before. They can now make a comeback. I have many opinions on this, but this is really the most relevant ones I have right now. Of course, once we know the first actual game coming to Xbox and Nintendo from PlayStation, we will revisit this and talk about it again then. But for right now, this is why I'm actually kind of hopeful for PlayStation to be going multi-platform. But what about you? What do you think about PlayStation's new multi-platform approach? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, try not to die, and I'll see you in the next video.